Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. I am Scotty Roberts, your host here on this here my show, the Intrepid radio program. And so, welcome to the program tonight. We've got 3 minutes until we go live over on the radio station. So this is just the pre-show, and I'm going to ask you to start thinking about the topic tonight: intellectual humility. There's a right and a wrong way about knowing things and knowing that you're right or wrong about something. And you can be confidently humble. And so there's a right way to think about being wrong. And are you willing to recognize that you don't know everything? That's the topic for tonight. So we're going to talk about intellectual humility and how it's different from just plain humility, especially in the day and age that we live in, where everything is so focused on being right about politics or right about this or right about that, and social media has no social grace to it. So there's no good communication. So we're going to talk about this. Not that I am wrong about anything, but we're talking about intellectual humility and how it's okay, it's right to sometimes realize that you're wrong. So we're going to think about that tonight. We're going to open up with talking about dogs and cats. What's better? So, are dog people happier than cat people? There's a question. I got 10 points why dogs are better than cats. And this kind of segues off of our Sunday show. So, where we started talking about dogs and cats. So, neither, says Field Guy. Well, this is obviously for people who've got one or the other and hate one and love the other type of thing. So, you like hamsters. Sure it's not gerbils, Field Guy? Well, we got about 35 seconds and we got to go live over on the radio station. So, everybody, dogs are excellent, says JP. An excellent lesson in unconditional love. There's that. Dogs are also harder because you got to spend more time with them. Cats, they're aloof. All right, here we go. We're going to go dark, but we will be back in just a couple of seconds. So sit tight.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks, happy Monday. Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts, of this, my show, the Intrepid radio program. You can hear us broadcasting every day over at odysseysradio.com. That's ODYSY radio.com. And if you're over there and just listening to us on air in audio format only, you can come on over to the chat room over on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. You can meet the other fellow Intrepids. And so hold on. I've got to tell somebody on air. And my daughter's trying to get a hold of me. And so that's how you find us. That's how you chat with us. Did you know that you can support this show? By support, I mean give us money so we can do cool things. This show doesn't earn money. We don't have advertising. We are totally listener supported or Scotty supported. And so I want to thank all those of you that already helped donate to the cause of this show. You help keep us alive. If you go to my Patreon for as little as $4 a month, less than the cost of a cup of Starbucks coffee, you can support this show. And if we get thousands of you doing that, guess what? We get to do some really cool things. And we want to expand into doing some television and things like that. Well, such as it is, internet TV. And so we can only do that if you want to help us get there. And you can do that over on my YouTube channel. Just join up and become a member, and you can donate to this cause. So thank you in advance, and thank you everybody that already does. And it helps us pay the bills, keep the lights on. So thank you. And let's leave that at that. I want to get into a couple of things. First of all, I want to tell you my daughters called today, Abby and Bryn, for Brianna and John, who are out there, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn. And they called, and they are going to take our three kids to Disney World in December before Christmas. And they're not bringing the adults this time, but that's okay, because guess what mom and dad get a week without kids. And so that was kind of cool news today. So my daughters called, they had me made a card. We fooled the kids a little bit that they were in trouble. Everybody in the living room, I need everybody out here. We got to talk. What did we do? What did we do? And I gave them this card. I said, you got to open this up. I said, you got to tell me what this is about. Is this about attendance at school? Is it about this? Is it about that? They crack it open. It's a card that's got Mickey's shadow. And it says, oh, hello. You open it up. It says, call your sisters. And they already were freaking out because it was the shadow of Mickey Mouse's head. And so, wait, does that mean you're getting some that week? Says Field Guy. I'll let you know. So the second week in December, my daughters, who own the Mermaid Tail Company, they are taking their three siblings, my three little kids, well, Flynn's not so little, to Disney World. So that was kind of nice news to get today. That's going to be their big Christmas present this year. And my daughters and their husband, Bryn's husband, they own timeshare. I guess I don't know if it's really called that, part of this Disney World thing. And I guess it's just like a timeshare. They bought into that because they're there so often. They bring their employees there an awful lot. And so there's one of the resorts that they've got their timeshare at. And so they're going to go do that. And it's through Disney. So it was a pretty cool deal. When we were out there with them, we were looking at that. If I had money to do that, I'd probably do that. But I like Disney. I have a problem with Disney's politics, but I've always liked Disney. And Disney's always been a special place in my family. And so as my older daughters were growing up, if you saw the post I put up about a week ago, and I put up the video of that closing ceremony, the video did no justice to what it was like actually being there. But they projected an incredible multimedia show on the castle at Disney World and a huge fireworks display through the whole 22-minute thing of it. And it was just an unbelievable thing. And it had all these clips of songs from all the different movies that my kids grew up with. And so it was very heartwarming. Kind of got you right in the heart. No matter what you think of Disney's politics. So that was a good thing. Randall Flagg says, we told my 5-year-old daughter at the time we were going to Boston. When we got to Orlando, we found out it was the next destination for that plane. Well, there you go. So anyway, yes, Johan, Rainey and I do deserve a week off without kids. That doesn't mean there's not going to be busyness. It just means we'll be able to work around things for 6 or 7 days. So anyway, I want to ask you about cats and dogs since we brought it up on Sunday. I've got an interesting little thing up here that I wanted us to take a look at. Why dogs are better than cats. Now, you can find stuff on the internet that tells you why cats are better than dogs. But in many people's opinion, dogs are better than cats because dogs are more trainable. They use the bathroom outside. They can protect you. I've never heard of an attack protection cat, security cat. My security cat saved my life. Go, Mittens. Get the police. Get help. This just doesn't happen. Having a dog has many benefits that make it better than having a cat. And it's possible to think one is better than the other, which I do, but still love both. So let's explore some. You notice how nowadays you can't even just say dogs are better than cats or cats are better than dogs. You've always got to put in the disclaimers. You don't hurt the poor 99% or what is it, the 1% of offended people out there. So for those of you who get easily offended, both dogs and cats are nice to have. So don't worry. Here we go. This is about dogs. Number one reason, going backwards. Number one reason, no litter boxes. It's probably fair to say that even cat lovers don't love litter boxes. You can get my daughters. One of my daughters has those rare Egyptian hairless cats. Very cool. One of his named Picard, and I thought he was the coolest cat in the world. I loved him, and he's still around. They found some congenital heart disease though, so they're thinking his days are numbered, even though he's not an old cat at all. And so my daughter was pretty broken up about that. So they're doing a lot of pampering of Picard these days. But they also bought a one of those automated kitty litter boxes where all you have to do is like once a week or something, or twice a week, pull the tray open and there's a bag already sealed up, ready for you to pull out and throw out. You just keep it supplied with bags and dump in the litter every now and then, and it does it all by itself. Well, anyway, kitty litter boxes. Let's see. No matter how well you keep up a kitty box, there always seems to be a lingering odor. We got 2 litter boxes down here and one upstairs. And you can walk in this house some days and go, "Oh, you foul animals." And that's all you smell is kitty poop or kitty piss in the litter box. So, and then you get the cats that they go, "Oh, I'm too lazy to go to the litter box. Oh, it's too full for me," because it's the kid's responsibility to clean the litter box. So we got to watch that every day too. But I think I'll just go piss in the laundry because, well, it's easier. It's like, if I knew which cat did that, that cat would be homeless or he'd be a barn cat. I kid you not. And I'm not a heartless man. I just love cats less than I hate kitty litter smell. All right. Kitty litter, they track it all over the house. Little pebbles all over the place. It's practically impossible to find a good place to put a litter box, in a small house especially. Scooping the stuff is stinky. It's dusty. Dogs don't need litter boxes. They can be house trained. My dog's house trained. Most can stick to a schedule. They can use the yard. They can do their business during walks around the neighborhood. You only have to pick up the poop, not the urine. The way you have to do with litter boxes. You get the stuff that clumps up. These big clumpy shapes of cat piss. And cleaning up poop isn't fun. So I don't like cats. I don't like cats because I got to take care of a litter box. And I got to take care of a litter box when my kids don't do their chores and take care of the litter box themselves. So cats, not a big fan. That was number one. Number two, dogs just want to have fun. You know of a cat that just wants to have fun? Cat will sit there and stare at you. He'll stare at you from the shelf. And then without even looking at anything, he'll go whap, and he'll knock your favorite glass thing off of the mantle. And you're doing a dive, like you're diving for a home plate to catch the glass thing. And then the cat just looks at you, licks his paw, goes on to the next one. Whap. Ha, you caught that one. Catch this one too, sucker. So cats don't want to have fun. They just want to wreak havoc on your life. They want to fuck with you. So there's only so much play you can do with your cat. Cats love to play with string toys. They'll bat their little ball cat toys all around, but it's almost like they're humoring you. Hey, watch this. Hey. I'm playing with the string thing. They can play on their own, just not with people. They'll claw you, they'll bite you. Dogs absolutely love to play, and it's often interactive play. And they want that, especially with you. You can play fetch with a ball or a disc. You can enjoy an exciting game of tug of war with your dog. Try to play tug of war with your cat. I'm going to have somebody go, "Oh, my cat plays tug of war." Well, good for you and your cat. Cats don't do that. Cats are usually sensitive to their environments. They dislike change. Dogs adapt better to change. Many dogs tend to accept change more easily, especially when their owners act like it's no big deal. Of course, there are plenty of anxious and fearful dogs out there, but as a species, dogs are pretty easy going. They're often calmer in the face of significant alterations to their lifestyles. And when it comes to introducing new people to pets or items in your home or moving to a new house, cats generally need more time to adapt. They got to know where the litter box is. Otherwise, they're pissing and shitting all over your sofa. They don't automatically trust that all is well. They want proof first. But most dogs take their cues from their owners. If you're cool and you're calm when that new baby comes in your door or you've moved, your dog will be too. Of course, some might not be quite as accepting of strangers. Lucifer here likes strangers. She just wants to play with them right away. Number 4, more control means less destruction. So you try to control a cat, you might hear the tiny sound of kitty litter, laughter. Most cats will go where they want to go, jump where they want to jump, spaz out when they want to spaz out, scratch where they want to scratch, mark whatever they want needs marking, rip tears in furniture when they feel that it's okay to rip tears in furniture to sharpen their little claws. Then there are those hairballs, which are the most easily found when you're barefoot in the middle of the night. Squish. Oh, I love my cat. My cat will sit down here in the big overstuffed chair that's down here. I got 2 of them out there for audience members or clients. Or Rainy when she comes down, just talks. Cat will, I'll hear the cat scratching on my upholstery. And I'll look and I'll go, "Hey, knock it off." Cat looks up and he's like, until I get up and chase him. Then he's like, he's out of here. I'll go scratch something else. So dogs can wreak destruction too. They'll rip up your pillows. You have feathers and stuffing and things all over. My dog hasn't done that. So corrective training, a stern voice, that's usually going to get your dog to comply. Today, we're all sitting down and we're all having a, what did Rainey make? Well, she made some chicken Alfredo, some Alfredo sauce with some pasta and diced up chicken, mushrooms, things like that. The dog has gotten into the habit, Lucifer, of sitting almost practically on top of Rainey's plate and just sitting there, staring at her until she gives her something. Then she does it to me. I'm like, "Rainey, don't give the dog any food. If you give the dog food, you know what you've just taught her? By sitting almost in my lap, in my plate, staring at my food, gets you food. Don't teach her that." But she does. And finally, the vet told me, "You got to stop feeding your dog table scraps," because she had ear infections and stuff. She says, "That'll exacerbate that." I said, "You want to kill our dog, everybody? Keep feeding her table scraps. She's got her own food." So, corrective training, stern voice. All right. Training dogs is so much easier than training a cat. You ever take a cat out to try to train it? Put it on a leash, give it a little tug, and go, "Heel." Think that cat heals? No. Cat doesn't care. Just get this thing off me. I'll piss on your pillow at night. Cats can technically be trained. Yeah, we know it. But, Even cat lovers admit that it's not usually as easy as training a dog. Even food motivated cats are going to soon tire of training sessions. Dogs seem to display a sense of pride when they've done a good job. You pet them on the chest and up, and they're like, and man, they love it. They love the praise. A cat, you do that, oh, good kitty, yes, 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 kitty. That kitty's going to scratch you or bite you. So that's the way it goes. 6, dogs can protect you. It's not in a cat's nature to defend you or your home. They don't give a flying rat's ass. If somebody breaks into your house, that cat's going to sit there and watch them. And then just toddle off and go scratch your upholstery in the den. Cats are more likely to run and hide when trouble comes. And on the other hand, most dogs will instinctively protect their owners or their territory. They'll bark or they'll growl to alert you to the presence of strangers. Get that burglar. And many are even going to scare off intruders. Dogs can sense our fear, and they'll respond if they think we feel threatened. And a large dog with loud bark, it's going to do that. Cats don't do that. Cats don't care. Kittens are not protective by nature of their humans. 7, dogs have greater potential. What's your cat's potential? I'm going to take my cat to Schutzen training. He's going to become a police cat. Yeah, right. Pull this leg and it plays jingle bells. But I can say that about my dog. When's the last time you saw a cat in a vest working hard to help blind people cross the street? It doesn't happen. It's true that cats have an important place in the whole animal assisted therapy thing, but that's just to be a big furball and purr at you while you pet them, and then they claw you and bite you when they've had enough. Stop petting me now. I'm leaving. And they jump off your lap, springboarding off of their clawed back feet dug into your thigh. So they're generally not well suited to other types of work, the way dogs are. Dogs have been helping people just about as long as they've been on Earth. They were working on farms as herding dogs. You ever heard of a herding cat? Look at that cat. He's herding my sheep today. Oh, kitty. Go, kitty. Good kitty. Up, kitty. Kitty, go get them cattle in. Kitty, go get the police. Like I said earlier, today, dogs still work on farms, and they even serve more noble purposes. They're service animals, guiding the blind, assisting the handicapped, helping the police and the military, participating in search and rescue efforts. Yeah, how many cats have you seen with a little barrel strapped to their collar running through the Swiss Alps to find lost hikers? Not many. Dogs can even detect seizures and sniff out cancer. That's some way to earn one's keep, I'm telling you. Number 8, dogs promote an active lifestyle. Cats like to stay at home, do their own thing. Dogs want to go out and play or go for a walk. Lucy comes and brings her leash to us all the time. They need lots of exercise. Depending on the breed, even more exercise. Number 9, dogs come in more shapes and sizes. Cats, they kind of all look the same. They're all feline. Sometimes they have more hair around the face. Sometimes they have no hair at all. Dogs are all different sizes and shapes. You can't go, I would like a giant mastiff cat, please. I can get a giant schnauzer or an Irish wolfhound that's this tall. I can't get a cat that's that tall. You get a cat that's tall, he's going to eat you. So, yeah, there's all kinds of breeds, but only dogs come in variety. Number 10, dogs are man's best friend or human's best friend. if we want to cross the sexual chasm. The terms man's best friend exists for a good reason. Dogs have been domesticated for at least 30,000 years or more. They've been faithful companions, loyal helpers of human race throughout history, and the bond between humans and dogs is unmistakable. Cats seem to know that they were once worshipped as gods. And that's the way they feel now. Hey, I'm a god. Fuck off. That's a cat. Perhaps they resent the fact that those days have ended. They might still be holding it against us. Dog's human is the center of its universe. A cat is the center of its own universe. We humans are merely orbiting servants or willing servants to take care of them. So there it is. There's my 10 points on why dogs are better than cats. You can do your own thing. I'm sure people have their own thing about dogs and cats. I haven't looked at any of your comments because I don't care. I'm going to be a cat and not really care what you think. There's my opinion stated. Now, I might be wrong, but I doubt it. Horses are fantastic, Steph. We used to have a bunch of horses, Rainey and I. Loved our horses. Well, I did. Rainey wasn't a big horse fan. That's the stories for another night. She had an old horse lay down on her once while we were out trekking, and the horse just laid down. I'm done. It was too old, apparently too old. We put her on an old nag because she was afraid of horses. And the thing just laid down. Rainey stood up, stepped off, and said, I'm walking home. So anyway, there was that. That's a story for another time. All right. Yeah, that's what cats are. IDGAF. Randall Flagg says, I don't give a fahoogie. All right. So how about something a little more serious tonight? Can we be wrong? Is there such a thing as intellectual humility? This is the topic for tonight. And I want you guys to think about this. Intellectual humility. There's an importance of knowing that you might be wrong. And why is it so hard to see our own ignorance? And what do we do about that? Now, I'm rarely wrong, so this doesn't apply to me. But no, in all seriousness, there's so many times I'm wrong about stuff. And not usually my factoids, but my perceptions, my opinions. And I have to make a course correction. And if I make a course correction, I have gotten, the older I have gotten, the more I am like, I just don't fight it. I'm like, you're right, I'm wrong. You're right. I was absolutely wrong about that. I get people that do that to me online all the time that try to take me to task about something. And there are times where I've typed something wrong in response to somebody. Well, you said it was this, but it really wasn't that at all. You repubtard. And I said, well, first of all, you're wrong about that. I'm not a Republican. I said, second, you're right. I did type that wrong. I said, you don't have to jump in my shit because I typed something wrong. I said, we're in a conversation here and we're typing. This is secondhand at best. So there's a woman named Julia Rohr, and she, Roher, Rohr, she wants to create this radical new culture for social scientists. And it's a personality psychologist at the Max Planck Institute for Human Development. That's who she is. Rohr is trying to get her peers to publicly, willingly admit it when they're wrong. And to do this, she, along with some colleagues, started up something called the Loss of Confidence Project. It's designed to be an academic safe space for researchers to declare for all to see that they no longer believe in the accuracy of their previous findings. Now, it's like, for instance, my publisher who published The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim. They want me to work on a second edition, which I haven't touched yet. Barely touched. Let's put it that way. And it's such an easy thing to do. I just haven't done it. And I said, some of my views have changed. Some of my positions have changed. They want me to write that up. And I can just as easily go, I was wrong about that position. Or I've got a different position, a new position now. Now, you'll find that there's many people, especially in the scientific fields, the archaeological fields, the historical fields, that will not give an inch of ground because it would mean they would be compromising their pet theory about something. So this effort of Rohr's recently yielded a paper that includes 6 admissions of no confidence. And they're still accepting submissions. And I think it's a cultural issue, Rohr says, that people are not willing to admit mistakes. Our broader goal is to gently nudge the whole scientific system and psychology toward a different culture, where she goes on to say, it's okay, it's normalized, it's expected for researchers to admit past mistakes and not get penalized for it. Her project is timely because a large number of scientific findings have been disproven or become more doubtful in recent years. And one high-profile effort to retest 100 psychological experiments found only 40% replicated with more rigorous methods. It's been painfully aware, or a painful period for social scientists who've had to deal with failed replications of classic studies. And they realize their research practices are often weak and need tweaking. Not knowing the scope of your own ignorance is part of the human condition. Do you realize the kind of lives we lived if we were fully cognitive, that most of the time we're kind of ignorant and dumb? Not knowing the scope of our own ignorance is part of the human condition. It's fascinating to watch scientists struggle to make their institutions more humble. And I believe there's an important and underappreciated virtue embedded in this process. It's like when I talk about this guy in the bust behind me, Senenmut, and I place the Exodus as an example, place it under the reign of Amenhotep II in Egypt. While a lot of people used to think it was Ramses II for good reason. And but now, finding anybody that believes that it was Ramses, if you find somebody that believes it's Ramses, you find somebody that's unwilling to relinquish the mistakes in their research. And generally, if you're finding that somebody else that thinks it's somebody else other than Amenhotep II, my guy, then you are finding somebody that doesn't research very well. I've heard this before and I never researched it. I didn't put it in my book because I didn't know it at the time. But even 4th century BC Egyptian historian Merneptah, not Merneptah, Merneptah was a pharaoh. The stele of Merneptah I'm thinking of, and the mention of Israel. It'll come to me in a second. The historian. And Manetho, he said that he even names through some of Manetho's work we don't have anymore. But you had Josephus, who was a Jewish historian who wrote in the 1st century, who quoted Manetho because Manetho had written just a couple of hundred years before him. And he looks at Manetho's work. He said Manetho said the pharaoh Amenephis was the pharaoh of the Exodus. He was an Egyptian historian. Amenephis, which is just another name for Amenhotep. So there it is. So that's going back 2,000 years. Humility is an important and underappreciated virtue embedded in this whole process. I've come to appreciate what a crucial tool it is for learning for myself. It's humility thing. Being able to admit I was wrong about something. How can you learn something if you're unable to say I made a mistake or I didn't know that? When I say I didn't know Manetho said this about Amenephis. I didn't know that when I was writing my book. I know it now. What a great fact that would have been in the book. But as technology makes it easier to lie and to spread false information incredibly quickly, we need intellectually humble, curious people. Just look at how Hamas has spread the lie of their propaganda against Israel. It's electronic now. It spreads in a second. It's difficult to foster intellectual humility. In my reporting on this in this show tonight, I've learned that there are three main challenges on the path to humiliating other people has three main challenges. No, humility has three main challenges. Well, first of all, like we used to say in ministry, humility, once you say you've got it, you've lost it. I have humility, right? But number one, in order for us to acquire more intellectual humility, we all, even the smartest among us, need to better appreciate our cognitive blind spots. Our minds are more imperfect and imprecise than we'd often like to admit, and our ignorance can be invisible. Meaning, we sometimes don't realize in our own we don't realize our own cognitive blind spots. We don't see them. We get caught up in the fervor of what we believe. Number two, even when we overcome that immense challenge and figure out that our errors, that we have them, we need to remember we won't necessarily be punished for saying, I was wrong, folks. And we need to be braver about saying it. We need a culture that celebrates those words. I was wrong. How often do you hear that? How often do you hear politicians say that? I would love to see a politician get up. I'd like to see Joe Biden get up and say, I was wrong. And about all that, stuff. Anyway. Number three, we'll never achieve perfect intellectual humility. So we need to choose our convictions thoughtfully. Your convictions, you know what your convictions are? The things that you believe in. The things that you put the power of your name to. It's like I say, when I am in high profile debates with somebody, I don't hide behind a pseudonym. I put my name to my words. We talked about this a little bit last week. We don't all have to do that. But I think if you're going to engage and be accepted as somebody who disseminates truth and fact, you shouldn't hide behind the relative anonymity of the bushes along the wayside and lob your attacks from the quiet. I see it's 78th birthday for Henry Winkler today. Hey! The Fonz. So this is all to say, intellectual humility is not an easy thing, but damn, it's a virtue worth striving for, falling for, failing for. Make that a New Year's resolution coming up. I don't do resolutions per se, but the New Year's going to be here in 2 months, believe it or not. Make it a resolution to say, I'm going to say I'm wrong more often. I'm going to strive for intellectual humility. Now, let's look at this. Let's explain it a little bit. Intellectual humility is simply the recognition that the things you believe in might in fact, my two ins there through me. The things you believe in might wrong word spacing. The things you believe in might in fact be wrong. The stuff you believe in might be wrong. I even say about Sun and Moon, I am 98% convinced that man was Moses. Could be wrong. I was 100% convinced that Serebet el Khadim was the biblical Mount Sinai. And I've seen a lot more information on Gebel Musa over on the other side of the Sinai Peninsula, over in Saudi Arabia, which wasn't Saudi Arabia back then. It's an extension of the Sinai. I'm almost more convinced that site has more probability of being the actual site. We'll cover that one of these days on the show. The recognition that things you believe in might, in fact, be wrong. Mark Leary, a social and personality psychologist at Duke University, said that. But don't confuse it with overall humility or bashfulness. It's not about being a pushover. It's not about lacking confidence or lacking your self-esteem or your personal power. The intellectually humble don't cave every time their thoughts are challenged. I believe I'm intellectually humble. I don't cave in all the time. I fight for what I believe in. Prove me wrong. And I'll go look it up too and see if I'm wrong. Instead, it's a method of thinking. Critical thinking involves intellectual humility. It's about entertaining that possibility that you might be wrong and being open to learning from the experience of others. Intellectual humility is about being actively curious about your blind spots. You know, I look at, for instance, this is my political bent. I look at the Biden administration. It's like, guys, do you think the whole country doesn't know he's impaired? But you act like he's not. Kamala Harris, in an interview, I saw the clip just today, interview asking about Joe Biden and his mental health and his cognitive awareness and disability and all of this. And Kamala's first retort was to laugh and say, ha, 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 ha. Well, I can assure you Joe Biden is alive. It's like, what the fuck did that mean? I got a cabbage that's alive out in the garden. Can't run the country. Anyway, so intellectual humility is about being actively curious about your blind spots. I got blind spots? Please tell me more about them. I want to know. I'll say to somebody. Scotty, I got to talk to you about something. You were wrong about this thing. You might have a blind spot. Oh, what are you thinking? I got one ear forward, like horse, one ear forward, one ear back. One ear back is, one ear forward is relaxed, one ear back is cautiously aware. Beep. We had horses that would do that when they had newborn colts running around with them. They'd be grazing. Mom had an ear forward, she's grazing, but she'd had an ear back. She was ready for action if she needed to. So, one illustration is the ideal of the scientific method, where a scientist actively works against their own hypotheses, attempting to rule out any other alternative explanations for a phenomenon before setting on a conclusion. It's about asking, what am I missing here? I'm missing something. I do that, frankly, when I do a piece of art. I look at it and I go, what's that missing? That's not looking right. I don't like that. What can I do with that? And it's the same thing in the scientific method. It doesn't require a high IQ or a particular skill set. It does, however, require making a habit of thinking about your limits, which can be a painful process sometimes. I got to think about my limitations. Clint Eastwood said it once in a movie, man's got to know his limitations. It's a process of monitoring your own confidence. When I open myself up to the vastness of my own ignorance, I can't help but feel a sudden suffocating feeling. It's like I've just sucked the wind out of my own room. And so this idea is older than social psychology. Philosophers from the earliest days have grappled with the limits of human knowledge. Michael de Montaigne, the 16th century French philosopher. He was credited with inventing the essay. And he wrote that, yeah, he's the guy that made sure that you had to write essays in school. He wrote that the plague of man is boasting of his knowledge. Social psychologists have learned that humility is associated with other valuable character traits. People who score higher on intellectual humility questionnaires are more open to be hearing opposing views. Did you know that? You have a higher IQ, you're usually open to hearing opposing views. The more readily we seek out information that conflicts with our worldviews, possibly the higher our IQ is. They pay more attention to evidence and have a stronger self-awareness when they answer a question incorrectly. So when you answer or when you ask the intellectually arrogant, if they've heard of bogus historical events like Hamrick's Rebellion, made up, they'll say, sure, sure, I've heard of that. The intellectually humble are less likely to do that. Studies have found that cognitive reflection, i.e., analytical thinking, is correlated with being better able to discern fake news stories from real ones. I can usually tell a fake story from a real one. I've made my mistakes, and I've had people point them out, and I've looked them up, and I go, you know what? You're right. I made a mistake on that. These studies haven't looked at intellectual humility per se, but it's plausible that there's an overlap. Most important of all, the intellectually humble are more likely to admit it when they're wrong. The intellectually arrogant aren't going to admit much. They're always right. So when we admit we're wrong, we can grow closer to the truth. And the world needs more wonder. And we need to think about that. We need to wonder about the things we talk about the positions we stand for and put forward. One reason that I've been thinking about the virtue of humility is because we see a lot of politicians out there that aren't very humble, even ones we support. That's okay. Sometimes it's okay. I listened to Trump say, you elect me president, and the war in Ukraine will be over in 24 hours. Now, is it a humble thing to say? No. Is it a fact? Probably. Sometimes people who aren't very humble also are very right. We see a lot of very high profile examples lately of how overconfident leadership can be ruinous for companies. Look at what happened to Theranos, a company that promised to change the way blood samples are drawn. It was all hype, all bluster, and it collapsed. Consider Enron's overconfident executives, who often were hailed for their intellectual brilliance. They ran the company into the ground with risky, suspect financial decisions. The problem with arrogance is that the truth always catches up. It always catches up to you. You look at the current administration, spent the first 90 days trying to undo anything that was Donald Trump by executive order. And they attempted to absolutely erase his presidency. That was their hope and their goal. Now, a lot of those things are coming back to haunt them, and they have to rename them and do them and call them something different so nobody recognizes they're just doing what Trump was doing in the first place, and they were wrong. If you ever had a politician, I would have had a lot of respect for Biden. Well, first of all, if he was cognitive, but a president like Biden, if he came up and said, We were wrong trying to erase Trump. He had some good ideas. Oh, you can't do that though. Why? You'd lose your power seat. I don't know. Maybe he'd retain it if he were cognitive under a lot of different circumstances. He might retain that seat if he was more humble about it and admitted their mistakes. The problem with arrogance is that truth always catches up. So, why is it so hard to see our blind spots, our ignorance, our invisibilities to us? As you look at some of the psychological research on intellectual humility and the character traits it correlates with, I can't help but fume. Why can't people be more like this? Intellectually humble. We need more intellectual humility for two reasons. One is that our culture promotes and rewards overconfidence and arrogance. And at the same time, when we're wrong, out of ignorance or error, and we realize it, our culture doesn't make it easy to admit it. Humbling moments too easily can turn into moments of humiliation. So, how can we promote intellectual humility for both of these conditions? I think in asking that question of researchers and scholars and politicians, that's how you learn to appreciate how hard a challenge it is to foster intellectual humility. First off, I think it's helpful to remember how flawed the human brain can be and how prone we all are to intellectual blind spots. And when you learn about how the brain actually works, how it actually perceives the world, it's hard not to be a bit horrified and a bit humble. We often can't see or even sense that we just don't know. And it helps to realize that it's normal and that it's human to be wrong. It's rare that I don't want to get into this so much, but talking about a viral meme I saw also provides a surprisingly deep lesson on the imperfect nature of the human mind. But believe it or not, the great Yanni or Laurel debate of 2018 fits the bill. For very few of you who didn't catch it, I hope you're recovering nicely from that coma. Here's what happened. An audio clip says the name Laurel in a robotic voice. Laurel. Or does it? Some people hear the clip and immediately hear Yanni. Both sets of people, Team Yanni and Team Laurel, are indeed hearing the very same thing. So hearing the perception of sound ought to be a simple thing for our brains to do, right? That so many people can listen to the same clip and hear such different things should give us humbling pause. Hearing Yanni or Laurel, which are two vastly different sounding words, in any given moment, ultimately depends on a whole host of factors. The quality of the speakers you're using, whether you have hearing loss, your expectations of what you're ready to hear. And here's the deep lesson to draw from all of this. Much as we might tell ourselves our experience or our world is the truth, our reality will always be an interpretation. Light enters our eyes, sound waves enters our ears, chemicals waft in our noses, and it's all up to our brains to make the guess about what it all is. And the first rule comes from a thing called the Dunning-Kruger study or the Dunning-Kruger club. And the first rule of the Dunning-Kruger club is you don't know you're a member of the Dunning-Kruger club. Perceptional tricks like this, the dress is another one, reveal that our perceptions are not the absolute truth. That the physical phenomena of the universe are indifferent to whether our feeble sensory organs can perceive them correctly. It doesn't change anything. We're just guessing. Yet those phenomena leave us indignant. How could it be that our perception of the world isn't the only one? The sense of indignation is called naive realism, the feeling that our perception of the world is the truth of the world. I think we sometimes confuse effortlessness with accuracy. When something is so immediate and effortless to us, hearing the sound of Yanni, it just feels true. Similarly, psychologists find when a lie is repeated, it's more likely to be misremembered as being true. And for a similar reason, when you're hearing something for a second or a third time, your brain becomes faster to respond to it, and that fluency is confused with truth. Our interpretations of reality are often arbitrary, but we're still so stubborn about them. Nonetheless, the same observations can lead to wildly different conclusions. For every sense and every component of human judgment, there are illusions and ambiguities that we interpret arbitrarily. Some are gravely serious. It's like white people often perceive black men as being bigger, taller, more muscular, or more well-hung, to be base and vernacular about it. Oh, and we've got a minute left with the radio audience. But that's racial bias, isn't it? That's not the truth. It's racial bias. And I still got so much material here. That I got to see where's a good place to cut this off. Did you know that people are less unlikely to judge you harshly for admitting that you're wrong? How would I know if I was wrong? It is actually a really, really hard question to answer. How would I know if I was wrong? Intellectually, I could say original data weren't strong enough. But sometimes we're just wrong. We're just wrong about our perceptions. And I wish I could get through all this material. We could maybe do it another night. It's bad to think of problems like this, like a Rubik's Cube. A puzzle that is a neat and satisfying solution that you can put on your desk. Doesn't always work that way, folks. And we aren't always right about everything. And it's okay to be wrong about things. To be intellectually humble doesn't mean giving up on the ideas we love and believe in. It just means we need to be thoughtful in choosing our convictions. Radio audience, I hate to say it, we got to get out of here. Join us for the Captain's Cabin on the YouTube channel. And for now, we'll just see you later. Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid radio broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. And welcome to the captain's cabin, everyone. Glad you could make it. Glad you could stick around. Hope you had a good, fun romp with intellectual humility. Go home, practice it, make it work. Well, you might be at home already. But like Jeremy Hansen, I am rarely wrong. So now, being wrong, I might be wrong about my approach. I might be wrong. I'm generally not wrong about my opinion. My opinion is pretty strong, and I usually. What did that say while we were talking about it tonight? Think about what your convictions are before you, or think about what you're thinking before you place it to conviction. Because it doesn't say don't have convictions. It says be careful what you place in the category of convictions. So that's what I like to do. So there it is. Project Skyfalls, welcome. Good to see you. And of course, Unleashed Jeremy Henson is here. Barbie D is here. Field Guy Elderberry. Who else was here tonight? Because it didn't look much over at the chat room this evening. Who else we got? Johan Dancing Gypsy was here. I hope you're still here. We had Sarah Yusuf was here. Shame is the only thing I see from her. That must have been in context to something I was saying, but I can't tell by looking back at the comment. So if you're around still, Sarah, you can let me know what you were taught. Let's see. What else? Who else do we have? Randall Flagg was here tonight. Steph Cuervo Queen was here. And I'm just going back. I'm looking through the chat room a little bit. And I want to thank y'all for being here tonight. It's kind of cool. And I think most everybody I've got here. And if I missed you, it's only because I missed you. Jason was here very early on tonight. The Dunning-Kruger effect is strong. He says, yes, it is. Roger Rabbit was here. I might still be. I carry my ego in the same sack as my balls. They were removed during the same procedure. Says Roger Rabbit. Boom. Yeah, there's that. And of course, we're not broadcasting on air anymore, so a little less formal here. Oh, here's another comment from Sarah. Even when someone is wrong, there's no shame in it. No, there isn't. You have to be ashamed of being wrong, unless you led a bunch of people to their deaths because you were being arrogantly wrong. Arrogantly wrong and just being wrong are two different things, of course. Anita Palmer was here. Good to see you, Anita, tonight. And keeps going, backwards. So anyway, thanks everybody for being in here tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time you give this show. Is it possible to be right and wrong at the same time? You know, there was once a sermon I heard a pastor preach, and he used the example of, and the sermon was about kind of about doing the right thing the wrong way. Something to that effect. So can you be right and wrong at the same time? He was using as an example the one dude who was not the high priest when they were moving the Ark of the Covenant, and the one of the guys stumbled or something, and the cart they were carrying it tipped, and he put his hands on it to stop it from falling. He saved the Ark of God from falling to the ground. But there was a command not to touch it. And he was struck dead. And I always thought, well, there's some gratitude for you. But it was supposed to show that God's holiness meant more than his love. Here was a guy who did the right thing, saving the ark from falling to the ground, but incorporated the wrong method. Maybe if he'd even had time to think about it, would he have thought, God will save it? I don't know. If that's what you mean. Yeah, you can do the right thing and the wrong thing at the same time, I think, Jeremy. That's probably not the best example. But good night, Matthew. Nice to see you. Matthew's taken off, I think. And so is it possible to be right and wrong about... Oops. Oh, I merged two things. Barbara D says, I just read the post about Henry. So sorry for Wendy. Yeah. That's sad. It's very sad. Henry's going, I have not talked to her yet. So, I feel very bad for her, having lost Henry. That's tough. It's hard. Death is hard. Even when it's a pet. I wasn't so surprised that Henry passed. I have to say it. He was at about the life expectancy for his breed of dog. He was having some problems. She was hoping to see him come out of it, but still, even when I talked to her last, even in the back of her head, I think she knew he didn't have long. But it's the same things we do with relatives, our loved ones, that we hate to see them pass. Doc, do anything you can for him. Some people scramble to hang on to every shred of life that they have. Some people say, I'm not going to take that treatment. It's going to prolong me for 6 months. What can I do in that 6 months? Maybe a lot. Or maybe I should just go. So it was sad, very sad for Wendy. I feel sad for her. She focused a lot of her love and her energy on Henry. So, it's tough. It's just as tough as death of a loved one. Because Henry was a loved one to her. So, there it is. There's nothing you can do to change it. So, I had the old rancher who Rainey and I were buying the ranch from when we had it, a horse ranch. We had a very loosey-goosey contract for deed, and that's why we don't have the ranch today. But, and when I think about it now, with the pricing of, by the way, as an aside, what it costs. I was just talking to my daughters today about the price of buying homes. We were buying, it was an old house. It needed my brother who passed away a few years ago. God, it was 10 years ago. But he was a contractor. He came out and looked at that house on the ranch and he said, you know what this needs? He said, it needs a can of gas and a match. So, it could have been fixed up. And they did. The bank fixed it up now because after the old rancher died, it went back to the bank. And the bank fixed it up. So the house was fixable. But what I was going to say about that was he had a very strong opinion. He was a very strong Christian. But he had a very strong opinion that animals don't have souls or spirits. Or this tab is using your camera or microphone. Yes, it is. Thank you. I've never seen that come up before. And I would get into good debates with him over it, dialogues. It wasn't really heated debates. I just said, I believe that animals do have souls or spirits. I think there's, the whole dichotomous, trichotomous question. You a dichotomist or a trichotomist? Body and soul, or body, soul, and spirit? Or body and spirit, body, soul, and spirit? So I believe that humans and animals share one commonality in that spiritual realm, body and spirit. I think humans have something unique in that they have a living soul, which is different, which gives them their reason, their rationale on a spiritual level. So I think there are differences between humans and animals. People say, well, humans are just animals. Maybe when we were originally created. I would have to think that the Creator, when he said he breathed into the man's nostrils the breath of life and man became a living soul, that he did something different with mankind. And I believe that. So people are different. Matthew Sainsbury says, I think so. Maybe I usually hear the ghost of humans, but not animals, not too often. I think what we can see is probably spirits of both. Ghosts. What's a ghost? Is a ghost the spirit or the soul? Are those one and the same in humans? Jeremy says, is it me, or is violence escalating around the globe? It is. I see violence everywhere, even NFL games in the stands. Yeah. There's a lot of it lately. I don't know what has brought that on. Everybody wants to say, oh, it's the hangover from COVID. I don't buy that. I think it's people. So, Anita, can animals have souls like humans, but not have rationale like humans? Why don't they have reason? I haven't seen a dog become a senator yet. Maybe it's because he's smart. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a dog become the leader of a society, or a judge, or a fisherman using tools. I haven't seen the dog kingdom produce a gross national product. They don't have reason and rationale like we do. Lesser beings. Yeah, Matthew, you might be right to a certain extent. The Israelite Hamas war, the Israeli Hamas war, is causing a lot of people to get up in arms, a lot more violence. But now here's my opinion. If you believe that you should stand up for the rights of Hamas, you're stupid. Plain simple. I don't think it goes any further than that. I'm not talking about all Palestinians. I'm talking about Hamas. If Hamas were not there, this war wouldn't be happening. I can tell you that. I think dolphins, dogs, and horses all have souls. Maybe, Jeremy. I don't know. I have no way to measure that. Sarah says if an animal has an ability to learn, they can certainly reason. That's questionable to a certain degree. Can you learn behavior and not have rationale? It's a good question. It's a good pondering question. I know I tried to look up when I was talking with the old cowboy at the ranch, all the biblical passages and verses I could find about animals. And all I could find was God's reaction. I never saw God saying animals had a spirit and a soul like humans, but I did see God say There is not a sparrow that falls, but he is not grieved in his heart. Um, I never heard David or one of the patriarchs say of a lost pet that he shall not come again to me, but I will go to him. But he did say that about the death of his baby. How do they pick a pack leader? I don't think they don't vote for him, Anita. Um, it's a strength and an ability, a display of ability and strength and power. It's the one that can maintain their position on the top of the heap. That's how they become a pack. They don't give great oratory. They don't have to convince the minds of people or other wolves to vote for them. A wolf doesn't. Good old fashioned violence. There you said it, Jeremy. And how do they find homes if it's stray? How do they understand and have the ability to comfort? I think there are instincts that are built into animals. Can animals love? Is love a rationale? No, it's not. Love, even in humans, isn't rational. Understanding of hierarchy is an advanced trait, says Sarah Yusuf. Sure. Is there an understanding, though, the way we would define understanding? An understanding of hierarchy or an instinct that hierarchy exists? I think if animals can understand hierarchy and leadership, then animals should be able to make tools and build homes. That's what I'm saying. They should be able to learn how to read. They can maybe see symbols and understand them. Animals sense when calamities are coming, maybe. That's an instinct. Is that a learned behavior? Otters use tools. Chimpanzees do too. They take a stick and dig ants out of a hole. Do they develop tools? Do they mass produce tools? Do they charge other monkeys to buy their stick they created for them and build corporations? Maybe makes them smarter that they don't. I don't know. Do they have bank accounts where they put that money? Maybe they have rudimentary forms of that, but what makes it rudimentary versus advanced? Is that reason or the lack of reason? Good questions. Good questions all. As much as I love animals, I don't think animals are equal to humans, though. But I could be wrong. Opposable thumbs sort of help. Yeah, that can help too. If you had an opposable thumb, if the chimp just had an opposable thumb, would we have Planet of the Apes going on this planet? Would they be vying for position? Do monkeys now get saddles and saddle up a horse? Do they cinch up a horse and put a bridle in its mouth? Yeah, we have to apply them to their standards, sure. Their standards are they don't have rationale. They're very simplified creatures, simpler creatures than we are. Sure. What makes us advanced? Why are we advanced? What made us be able to do those things? You did it. You really did it. Who did what? What you talking about, JP? My kids are always taking stuff off my desk. I need my back scratcher real bad. If only I had a chimpanzee here with a stick. I've seen a monkey ride a horse. That's not the question I asked, though, Sarah. I didn't say a monkey can't ride a horse. I said, can a monkey saddle a horse? Can a monkey make a saddle? Make a cinch? Look at all the components that go into making a saddle. From the metal to the leather to the wood. Can a monkey do that? Yeah. Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. That's for you, Jason. So, Sarah, yeah, sure, chimps can ride. I've seen chimps ride horses too. I've seen tigers ride horses. I've seen other animals ride horses. But has any one of those animals been able to develop a saddle and a bridle and a rein system? And stirrups. Can they make a saddle with stirrups? Monkeys could eventually write Shakespeare, maybe. So could AI. But will monkeys do it? Do monkeys have the intellectual capacity to write Shakespeare? What, in a million years? Saying maybe. I don't know. We don't know that. So, birds' nests, says Randall Flagg. Yeah, they sent a monkey to space, but he didn't make the rocket, says Susie Q. Can a chimp be a pimp and walk with a limp? Maybe. Maybe. Roger. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen says AI has already been sentient once. Yeah, the creator didn't say he made monkeys in his image. That's very true, Susie Q. Humans are special. Get used to it. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to too. For me, it's a theological thing. I believe humans are special. I think God made humans different than other animals for a reason. And that's what all theologies seem to have different opinions on, is why. Can he do it in a boat or even with a goat? I was trying to think of some of the other lines that go along with that. I can't at the moment. Oh, happy birthday, Jeremy. That's right. I saw that today. Facebook had 2 computers they placed AI in. It took over itself and started talking to each other in their own language. They pulled the plug. Hey, there you go. Oof. Ode to a banana, says Sarah Yusuf. Yes. Is this a banana I do see before me? Said the chimpanzee. Hey, if Klingons could learn Shakespeare, so can a chimpanzee, right? Klingons are more advanced than chimpanzees. So. You're welcome, Jeremy Hansen. Wish we could have done more. Cake, a little beer. Cake and beer. Kid party. All right, guys. Animals taking on human characteristics reminded me. I finally got a copy of Tam O'Hare for Kinsey. All right. Did you get the color copy, Roger? There's 2 versions out there. One's the black and white version that the publisher originally published. And then I got the rights and I republished it as a color edition. I hope you got you got the color edition. Good job. Outstanding. Randall Flagg says that's why it's hard to accept other worlds would have advanced beings. Why is it hard to accept that? You say that's why. What was said? I believe other worlds could have advanced civilizations. I don't believe they're on the same order as what we have here on Earth, different order of beings, which leads to some of my theological stances that I think God is the God of this world. So, just a thought. Anyway, good things to think about. It's 10:30. I'm going to call it quits tonight. So we don't have much going on. And I still hear people walking around upstairs. I'm going to say hi to everybody before everybody goes to sleep. Rainey had the kids at Scouts tonight. So they got home a little late. So I'm going to go up and say hi to everybody. And that's all I got. So you know what? We're going to be back on Wednesday. I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow with Wendy for Roberts and Robertson. All depends on how she's doing with the passing of Henry. She just might not feel like it. So I need to send you some PayPal money. I got my copy for $7.87. I think Amazon made a mistake. It was priced that low for. Did you actually get it? Because I think they're doing the black and white version for $8, something like that. The color version is like a $25 cover price on it, because that's what it cost over there. Double. But you said you got the color version, so well, that's good. Do you have it in hand, Roger? Have you seen it? Sure, they didn't make a mistake and send you the wrong version. But if you've got it, you'll know it's either black and white or color. So anyway, folks, that's all I got for tonight. Oh, you got the color copy. It was printed October 23rd, 2023, the day I ordered it. Fantastic. You already received it? That's good. I'm glad. You've been reading it. It's color for sure. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much, Roger. All right, guys. That's it for now. Apparently, you can get the color version of Tam O'Hare for under $8. Go get them now. Find them on Amazon. So I should buy more and stock up. Because I publish that myself, so it goes up on Amazon. Anyway, there we go. Great night to all. All right, guys. Good night. I will see you on Wednesday, maybe tomorrow, depending on how Wendy's doing. Maybe not. We'll see. Live long and prosper.